Hey guys, so today I want to do another ranking video, and this is going to be my top 15 visual novels that I played on my channel. And I have to make a little bit of a clarification here. So visual novels need a little bit of a definition. In my definition, and this may not be accurate to everyone, this is just my personal definition of a visual novel. Either it's a game where it's almost all text and you just click through the text and you make some choices, right? That's a typical visual novel. Or it could be a little bit more interaction, but it's still mostly reading. So that's what I would consider like visual novels, and I would consider dating simulators visual novels as well, because it's mostly reading as well. And there is some overlap between visual novels and point-and-click adventures, I would say, because a lot of point-and-click adventure games can be text-heavy, and I would consider those like closer to a visual novel. So that gets a little bit ambiguous, but anyways, I'm just gonna say any game where the majority of the game is basically reading text is going to be a visual novel. Okay, so anyways, this is going to be my top 15. This is actually kind of expanded version of an older video I did. I did a top 10 before. I just want to expand it, with a few more games to show off. So yeah, here's my top 15 here. All the games I played on my channel. All right, so number 15, I'm going to start out with The Hungry Lamb, which is a pretty recent visual novel that I played. This came out actually last year, 2024, and it's developed by a Chinese company. And I think what makes this one unique to me is the setting. So most visual novels, because visual novels are such a Japanese genre, most of them are in a Japanese setting. Like they're in some kind of school, like when it comes to dating simulators, you might be in a Japanese school, or you might be in some other Japanese setting with these like bright, cheerful, bubbly girls, That's what I think about when I think of the typical Japanese visual novel is a game like Love Extra, for example. That to me is like a typical visual novel. But this game is different because it's set in the late Ming Dynasty China at a time when basically the people were very unhappy at the end of the late Ming Dynasty. That's why it changed into the Qing Dynasty, because like the Manchurians and everything took over. Anyways, this is a very tumultuous time in Chinese history where there's a lot of warfare going on, there's a lot of famine going on, and that makes this actually kind of it's a very dark visual novel. Like, it's very pretty different from your typical visual novel, because like I said, most visual novels are like, to me, the typical Japanese visual novel, full of these bright, cheerful anime girls, some kind of school setting, like dating sim, that type of thing. But this game, late Ming Dynasty, a very dark setting. You play as this guy called Liang, who's actually trafficking these young girls to the capital city of China at the time, which I guess was Luoyang. And yeah, like
her butt still hurt because
it's crazy because of the darkness in this game. Like the whole setting, right? You're trafficking young girls who later on eventually
Guan Yu or Lu Bu.
Yeah, it's
pretty famous characters from
anyways, I don't want to spoil too much of this game, but it's just it's pretty dark because you'll see like cannibalism in this game and stuff. And this young girl who's the secondary protagonist in this game, her name's Sui, and Sui lived a pretty dark life as well. Like she lived in a life where she had to grow up very hungry. Her family couldn't feed themselves. They had to cook their cat in order to survive. Like it's pretty dark, and you're dealing with these times, and to me that feels very gritty and realistic, because I think this was actually how it was like at the end of the late Ming Dynasty. Okay, maybe the typical person wasn't trafficking young girls, but anyways, it's true that a lot of people, peasants, you're talking about hundreds of years ago, peasants in ancient China, they were like suffering, right? You're suffering through famine, you're suffering through war, that kind of stuff. I mean, most of life actually isn't very pleasant, and this game really teaches me, like, it really, gets me immersed in this setting, because I'm like, wow, life was so harsh
because people
at that time, and even now, in some places like North Korea,
status quo,
it's still harsh like this now, but back then, it just made me realize, like that's how unpleasant life was for most of the people back then. So for hundreds of years, like most people just didn't have good lives, and probably even now, but at least now our lives are getting better, modern society and everything. But you know, especially hundreds of years ago, you're talking about the typical peasant.
She just cooked her
you,
cat.
You,
Oh
you
my
just,
God.
I mean,
Yeah,
this is the
this is where
stuff
she-
that happens, I guess, at the late end of the. Yeah, so I mean, you just see like stuff like this happen, like unpleasant things happen in this game, and it's gritty and it's realistic, and that's actually what makes me like this game actually, because it's so different than your typical visual novels. Chinese, set in an ancient China setting. It's a dark visual novel, and it doesn't pull any punches, and it just shows you how gritty and like desperate and unpleasant life was back then. These four girls being trafficked, and one of them, Sui, who has to grow up by herself basically and fend for herself. And she's only 11 years old, but she has like the mind of like a 30-year-old already. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And also just it just gets me immersed in that kind of setting. It takes me back in time, you know. That's what I really love about this visual novel. Anyways, yeah, that's why starting off at number 15. It kind of surprised me because I wasn't expecting anything from this game. It's like a $10 game on Steam, but it actually surprised me with how immersive it is and gritty it is. Yeah, the life back then was tough for people in China.
like you, even if you
anyways,
go 10 years
check
older,
it out.
become a
Hungry
knockout
Lamb,
beauty.
number 15. Number 14 is Eve Burst Error. So this is a Japan-only visual novel that happens to have a fan translation, which is why I ended up playing it on my channel. And the PC version I'm playing right here came out in 1997. I think it originally came out in 1995, and it got a remake, by the way, for the Vita and the Switch. But I don't think those translations are available. Anyways, what I like about this visual novel is it's one of those detective-style visual novels. So it's if you guys like playing like the Famicom Detective Club type games, or even the Ace Attorney, it's not exactly the same, but you get to be a detective, so you do have that element in it of investigation. So you have to choose where to go, find some things out. And by the way, I do count these type of games as visual novel games, like the investigative type games. So Famicom Detective Club and Hokai Serial Murders and Ace Attorney, these all count as visual novels for me, like they're investigative type games. And Spirit Hunter, Deathmark as well, like those type of games. Anyways, what I like about this one especially is, well, first of all, I love the graphics because, this is like 90s, peak 90s anime graphics, which is like mid-90s anime type graphics. That just does it for me. Anyways, I love 90s style graphics, especially from the early to mid-90s, I would say, is my favorite anime graphics. So the graphical style, just right up my alley, especially if this was originally like, what, a PC 98 game or something. Yeah, another thing is this guy, at least for this translation, right? Like, the translation does not hold back. It does not pull any punches. The translation just outwardly says a lot of offensive shit, and that's actually pretty funny. It's the main guy Kojiro, he just outright says offensive stuff to people.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and the translation does not hold back at all. It's just completely uncensored and everything. And it's an erotic visual novel, which, later on could be something crazy. But anyways, the translation doesn't hold back. It's it can be offensive and it's completely uncensored. But that to me, that makes this game more interesting too. But yeah, investigative visual novel. Get to talk to some crazy characters, as you would expect in a Japanese game. And yeah, the main character is doesn't have a filter. So, I mean, look, one of the options I have right here is lick. I can lick her. I can lick her face, or I can lick her camera. Like, there's some crazy actions you can do. I mean, this is peak Japan, man. 1990s peak Japan type game. So anyways, Eve Burst Error. Very, very interesting game for me. Bug Warriors. Alright, so number 13 is El Hazard, the Students from the Horror Fan Club. So this is based on the El Hazard anime franchise. Came out in Bug Warriors, originally... Actually, this is for 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. And I'm playing a translated version because this only came out in Japan. But this was a fun visual novel to play, and yes, it basically is a visual novel because it's almost all reading.
So they're called Bug Rom.
Yeah, the main character's name is Makoto, and he's this like scientist basically that got sucked into this fantasy world to help their world out. And then you meet all these of the priestesses. Your professor comes along, who's basically a huge drunk. Yeah, your professor is basically an alcoholic, and then you have all these like priestesses in the world, and then you
Grouchy
get
has me for
to
some
you get to
reason.
meet
Why does he hate me so much?
the maid princess of the world, and
Aliel?
there's some
Aliel.
romance that happens and some
Help
crazy
her.
stuff that happens. But
Invisible.
overall, I like this translation. The dialogue and everything is pretty humorous. I mean, your character looks like pretty typical standard Japanese dude, Japanese student character, right? But hey, I just like the charm of this game. You know, a lot of funny things happen in this game. It's got the very
Short
anime
flame.
vibe to it. It's just a fun visual novel to play. So, anyways, yeah, you get to meet all these different priestesses in this fantasy world. You get to help them out, help defeat. I think it's your arch nemesis of no, it's one of the character's
issue.
friend's brother that's actually the nemesis of this game. Yeah, anyways, it plays out a lot like just a charming anime, I guess. So there's some comedy, some romance, and everything. Just overall fun game to play. I ended up playing this a lot longer than I expected.
Wow.
Like,
This is our
Yeah.
one-on-one time.
it's supposed to be anyways. Yeah, anyways, fun game to play. So if you pick up the fan translation online. So yeah, this is for the Game Boy Advance. El Hazard. All right, number 12 is Amagami EB Core Plus, which is a dating simulator that came out in 2011 for the PSP, in Japan only. I'm playing a fan translated version here. And this is a pretty typical dating simulator type game. And yeah, you guys might be wondering what's so special about this one. Well, I guess it's just the fact that the girls that you can choose from and the events that play out is it's kind of interesting because like you go with one girl and another set of events might appear or not appear, and it's all kind of like determined based on what type of girls you're talking to, right? That gives to this game a lot of replay value. And of course you have like a selection of 6 different girls, I think. But you have a pretty interesting interface here. So basically your interface here is this, I don't even know what to call it. Some kind of like board, I guess. Like almost like a board. And then you have it's like a group of hexagons appear for each event tied to each girl. And then, yeah, once you do an event for a girl, another group might pop up. Or another group of events might just kind of grade itself out. So it really depends on what events you have chosen with each girl. Once you have chosen an event, another set of events might pop up, or another set of events might gray out. And it really depends on what kind of choices you make. So overall, tons of replay value because there's so many different branching paths you can go through. And I think that's what makes this dating sim a little bit special, because other dating sims is like it's just like, okay, you choose a route with a girl and you generally just go down that one route, right? Well, this one there's like, it's hard to figure out what route to go down because it depends what kind of events that you choose, and there's so many events that happen, and each one actually depends on also the time of day too. You got the break 1, break 2, lunch, and evening. So you got four different periods of the day, and you can only choose specific events during certain times of the day. So yeah, I think it's this this structure, I think, that makes this game really interesting to me. Yeah, so it's not like a typical dating sim where you just choose one girl, you go down the path. In this one, it's kind of like you can focus on one girl, but you can also kind of meander around and talk to some other girls. And it really depends. At the end of the day, you see like, you know, your relationship with certain girls go up or down. I actually haven't really gotten far with just one girl yet. I think it's pretty hard. It's pretty tough because I had to do like a lot of trial and error to find out what sequence of events. It has to be a certain sequence of events that you have to choose for certain girls. Yeah, so 6 different girls, I believe, and there'll be certain times where you actually there was one route that you can even hit on your teacher if you want, but that's a bad ending. Don't hit on your teacher. And then if you get into like the dialogues with the girls, it's a little bit different here. And the problem with this translation is that yeah, this translation does not translate everything that happens when you actually get into the dialogue sections with the girls. I mean, the normal dialogue is fine, but it's the talking sections, so the chatting. You know, let me show you an example of that. There's like certain times you just might want to chat up with a girl, and there's yeah, here. So here I'm chatting up Aya, right? With I was able to say something with her. Yeah, so there's only one girl where these sections are translated, and that's I, one of the 6 girls. But Aya, for example, I want to be with Aya, but then her section is not translated. So you have all these different topics you can talk about, and this is all kind of like trial and error, I think. So it's just like you hit one or you hit the other or whatever, and I don't know what's happening here because you don't actually know. I don't know. It's like trial and error. It's like I don't know what hits and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But no matter what, these parts are not translated for every. Like for most of the girls, it's not translated. Only for one of the girls, I, is translated. But for every other girl, it's not. So that's one of the issues with the fan translation here, is that this section here where you're chatting with a girl, yeah, it's mostly untranslated. It's only for one girl, unfortunately. But other than these chat sections, yeah, it was a pretty fun game to play.
Damn it.
Just because I like to try out the different routes with the different girls and see what happens and pick different events. And if you choose different events, you know, other events might pop up that depend on that event. And that's just kind of fun. So that makes this a little bit different than other dating sims, I think. For me, anyways. Number 11 is Remember 11, The Age of Infinity. This is part of the Infinity series of visual novels. They're all like sci-fi type visual novels. I think it follows from Never 7 and Ever 17. I personally like Remember 11 the best because it's just got a more interesting concept in my opinion. So what happens is at the beginning of the game, you're in a plane crash. And then after the plane crash, you play essentially as two characters, but you switch between the two characters. Yeah, you're like one character is called Kokoro, who's a girl, and the other character called Satoru, who's a guy. And your mind, actually, your perspective in your mind switches between the two, which is really interesting concept, right? Basically, you got to keep Kokoro alive for like 7 days. If you keep her alive for 7 days, you get to play from like Satoru's perspective. You got to keep him alive for 7 days as well. So all that's pretty interesting. Like the generally switching of personalities between the two characters, and it always plays from the perspective of who you are in. So like you will switch to another body, and then the other character will switch to the other body. So you play as Kokoro first, and then you play as Satoru's mind, if that makes sense. And then you don't hear from the other character until you finish the 7 days with one character first. So anyways, it's interesting, right? So first you play as Kokoro, you switch between your body and the guy's body in basically another time period. And then after you make her survive for 7 days, you then play from the guy's perspective, Satoru's perspective, and then you switch, from his perspective, you switch between the 7 days. Really, really cool, interesting concept. That I haven't seen really in many other games. The whole switching bodies concept is pretty cool, and in different time periods first as well. So, anyways, I recommend it. Came out in 2009, actually originally 2004. Sorry, I'm playing the 2009 PSP version, which has a fan translation. Originally, yeah, these games were all Japan only, so I'm playing a fan translated version right here. But yeah, I highly recommend people check it out if they're into the sci-fi, a little bit of interesting visual novel to play. Just because of the mind changing and the perspectives shifting is pretty cool. And I'm not saying like the other Infinity novels are great too. I love Never 7, Never 17 too. It's just that this concept was a little bit more interesting to me than those other games. But they're all good visual novels. So. Yeah, anyways, if you guys are interested in that concept, definitely check it out. Yeah, switching minds and switching bodies and perspectives between different time periods. All right, that's Remember 11. And it's fitting that Remember 11 is number 11 on my list, by the way. Number 10 with Song of Seiya.
He cannot enjoy anything anymore, so all his senses are basically messed up. Even his taste senses are messed up, so he cannot enjoy food anymore. That's sad.
Yeah, so Song of Seiya came out in 2013. Well, the translated Western release did. This is actually an older game than that. But yeah, this game I found to be, it's profoundly disturbing in many ways, because the main character has this disease that makes him see everyone as monsters, except for this girl, who, I don't know if you guys play it, by the way, there's spoilers, I'm gonna say it though. Yeah, so spoilers guys for this game. He sees everyone as monsters except for this girl, Seiya, who in real life is actually a monster. So basically he has this he's got some sort of mental disease where he sees everyone as monsters, but the girl who's actually a monster in real life is the only one that appears human to him. That basically completely like drives him insane. Like in this game, it essentially turns him into the antagonist of this game. So it's very interesting. Not many
So he
games.
still hasn't opened up to anyone to tell them.
Like not many
anyone about
games,
his
not just visual
condition
novels in
or,
general.
what he's seeing.
Like not many games
for
where
himself.
you play as essentially a guy who, like you play the protagonist is not someone that's a good person. Like this game, you actually feel sorry for the people around him because he's so messed up and he does crazy things. So I think that's what made me really interested. Like this is quite an interesting game. It's a messed up game, very very disturbing. The protagonist has a mental illness. Like he ends up doing really nasty, disturbing things to his friends. So yeah, very very crazy game. But still, I had to put it on this list because it's very original. I really do like the concept and idea. Very original game, and when I played this, it really did surprise me in a lot of places. So, anyways, I do have to recommend this game. Song of Seiya is going to be my number 10 pick. It's just such an original, disturbing but original game for me. Yeah, as a visual novel, yeah, certainly it's memorable for me. Okay, number 9 is another disturbing visual novel. This one is called Chaos Head Noah. It's another game that came out actually originally in the 2000s, but finally got a westernized localization in 2022. So it didn't come out in the West until much, much later. But still, like when I played it, I was like, this is a really disturbing, messed up game. But it's also memorable in the same ways that Song of Seiya was. Because in this game, yes, the protagonist is... He's a shut-in, essentially. He's a huge otaku. He talks to this anime figure on his desk. He's kind of crazy, but the story is just really, really interesting, right? So he ends up meeting like these girls that give him delusions and stuff. Even his own sister gives him a delusion. Yes. So in this delusion, he has a chance to seduce his own sister and stuff. Later on the game, he gets sent like this box with his sister's arm cut off in it, and like he's not sure if it's a delusion or not. Like, it's really crazy. And then he meets this girl who he thinks crucified someone.
His sister,
but ends up being his roommate.
I don't want it to be just.
I mean, not his roommate, his classmate. But yeah. I mean, look. His sister is coming onto him in this delusion. That's crazy. Oh.
What the heck? She's my sister.
Incest.
I want your. Oh man, incest. It's incest time.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell from this sequence here, the protagonist is pretty messed up.
I held it in for 16 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
He finally came to his
What?
senses, of course.
It's incest. Delusion.
Yeah, he was having a crazy, sick, messed up delusion, but...
Creepy.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that happens in this game. Like, you have delusions about all the people around you, all the girls around you.
Cute little sister
I mean,
attitude.
in this game, you are surrounded by girls, but you have delusions by many of them, like... And you just basically are kind of this very, very otaku shut-in type of person. Very, very messed up in many ways. But anyways, very, very unique visual novel. It's messed up, it's graphic, but that's also the reason why it's memorable. So I really do like this one as well. So, number 9, Chaos Head Noah. Definitely check it out.
No,
Like, these
sweetie
games are
girls
messed
love
up, but I really like them. They're very memorable. Okay, so number 8 is going to be Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. I love this visual novel. I unexpectedly really loved it because I didn't expect much from this. I didn't like know too much about this one. I think it just got kind of recommended to me on Steam one day, and I decided to pick it up. And it ended up just being this amazing, like, really comical type of adventure where like the protagonist Marco doesn't really take herself seriously. No one takes himself seriously in this visual novel. There's very high quality animation in this visual novel, like you guys can see here. It's like yeah, it's top-notch animation in this visual novel, which you don't normally see in a visual novel anyways. Like in most visual novels, you don't really see much animation like this, let alone a very high quality one, right? So, yeah, the whole story is it's a sci-fi adventure about Marco finding her mother, but you end up meeting like all these crazy people, and yeah, it's very, very comical. They don't take themselves seriously at all. Like they just kind of joke around about taking over planets and stuff. Yeah, it's just a romp. Like very, very fun visual novel. Didn't expect it to be this good, but it is good. This good. I mean, yeah, just a very, very fun visual novel to pick up. Yeah, I mean, she has a dragon as a kind of like a buddy that's small, but also turns into an anime girl that also
Like
grows into a big dragon if they want to. And then one of her other buddies is like this flying pig head called Emergency Rations. She calls this pig head that because she can eat it if in case of emergency. And yeah, it's really, really funny, and funny, also weird, but also very fun and enjoyable. So highly recommend checking this one out, Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. Very, very fun visual novel. I know this seems like just animation right now, but yeah, the actual visual novel looks sort of like this. Yeah, the art is really well drawn as well, you guys can see. So yeah, so the normal visual novel parts are like this. It's just really nicely well drawn and very quirky and weird, but also very funny. Yeah, so highly recommend it. It's very, very funny.
Japanese.
Check out. This is like Japanese Facebook or something.
Oh, that's Marco.
Oh, pretty funny. Okay, so number 7 is AI The Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. This is the sequel to AI The Somnium Files. And I know technically, yes, this is not just a visual novel, it's more like an investigative game. But I'm kind of grouping in investigative games and visual novels into one category here, because investigative games also involve a lot of reading. So yeah, that's pretty much why you're gonna see Ace Attorney as well in this list, but yeah, like investigative games I also kind of count as visual novels as well. So that's why you see kind of an investigative game in here. But I really love AI Somnium Files. The original game I think is pretty good, like investigative visual novel. But this game, Nirvana Initiative, I think goes a bit further, and yeah, it's got RPG aspects to it, of course, as well. It's not just a visual novel, but I'm gonna put in this list anyways because there is a lot of reading in this game, so I think it counts. But yeah, graphics are really good. Story was engaging for me. It does like suck me in with the mystery aspect and like led me to keep wanting to do more and more investigations. So look at what's this section here. I'm talking to yeah. So a lot of quirky characters, as you would expect from Japanese games. Overall, I think this was very, very fun and enjoyable. Yeah, so it's more like an investigative game, and there's definitely more gameplay in this game compared to other visual novels, but certainly there's still a lot of reading, and yeah, this ended up being one of my favorites. Yeah, love the graphics, love the gameplay, and the mystery of this game. So, pretty cool game. I ended up playing this a lot more than I expected. Alright, so number 6 is Alcana 4 Rhythms Across the Blue, which came out in 2019 for the PC actually. I really love this visual novel, and I think the reason why is because not just like a typical dating sim type of game. Like, yeah, a lot of visual novels just end up being like dating sim, standard romance visual novels. This one doesn't have as much. I mean, it still has romance. It still has kind of dating sim elements in it, but this game focuses, the plot is actually this fictional sport called Flying Circus, and all the characters have these like equipment, like gravity shoes, I guess, or anti-grav shoes is actually what they call it. So they have this anti-grav shoe equipment, and they go very in-depth. The main character, Messiah, goes really in-depth talking about how the sport works, and he actually ends up coaching these girls to win like tournaments and stuff. So it really feels like it really got me invested in
it
this
shows you,
visual
like,
novel. Like
she's
this fictional
really kind of
universe
proud of
where
this
they have a
thing.
fictional game and sport really got me invested in it. So I ended up really loving Alcana a lot. It's not your typical visual novel, not like a typical dating sim or whatever. This one does have romance elements, but it's focused more on the sport, the fictional sport inside this game, Flying Circus. And the analysis that Messiah does is basically coach for these girls, and he's breaking down the game, the strategy and everything. They go pretty in depth about it. Like, it really gets me involved and invested in this universe. So yeah, I have to say I really do like Alcana. It's lighthearted, so it's not like one of those dark visual novels or anything. And I always play these kind of visual novels to kind of cheer me up as well, because it's very slice of life. So it's lighthearted. At the same time, it's cool that they have this really, like, this fictional sport that they built up so well in this visual novel. Like, they've really fleshed it out with a lot of detail and strategy and everything in this game. It makes you feel like it's a real sport, right? So anyways, I love Alcana. It's one of my favorite visual novels for sure. So that's why I have it on this list. Right, number 5 is Muv-Luv Photon Melodies. So Muv-Luv is this visual novel series that came out in the 2000s, got pretty popular.
You try to get around
There's many different types of games, like in the Muv-Luv series. There's Muv-Luv Extra, the original Muv-Luv, and Muv-Luv Unlimited, Alternative, and spin-offs and stuff.
The mighty technique of returning the topic to sender. How will you respond, Lieutenant?
This is one of the spin-offs, I guess. Photon
If you
Melodies.
answer, it'll become impossible.
It got translated quite a bit later. Came out to Western markets, translated finally in 2020. But yeah, I love this game. Actually, maybe more than the original non-spin-off Muv-Luv game. So Muv-Luv Alternative is generally considered to be one of the best ones, and I think Alternative ranks very high because it's so emotional. The story of Muv-Luv Alternative is definitely the darkest and most emotional. However, for me, I think I wanted something a little bit more lighthearted than that. And Photon Melodies, so it's not like Extra, where Extra is kind of like a dating sim. Photon Melodies isn't really a dating sim, but it's just funny. Like, whatever they put in this translation, they took their time translating this, but it's just funny. Like, the main character, and the way that he's trying to be serious, but all these girls around him are not being serious at all, and like, it's their interactions are just really, really funny. So I actually ended up laughing a lot when I played this one, and really made me enjoy it. So yeah, Muv-Luv Photon Melodies is definitely one of my favorites. Just, yeah, this main character is like trying to be so serious, and then all these girls around him are like, you know, they're just like acting so funny around him. So it just ends up being a really, really funny dynamic. So anyways, Muv-Luv Photon Melodies surprisingly is my favorite Muv-Luv game. I take it over Alternative and Extra and Final Extra, which I think Altered Fable is essentially like the true ending of Muv-Luv. Those are all like fun games, but yeah, for me, just for the comedy humor, I like Photon Melodies the best. Alright, number 4, technically an investigative visual novel, like, or investigative game. I put this as the same category as visual novel because it's mostly reading. So Great Ace Attorney 2, actually Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, I should say, 1 and 2. These two are essentially the same type of game. The only difference is the plot, which is essentially tied, actually. So you can think of Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2 as kind of being the same game. It's just split in half because it's just one big arcing story between the two. So yeah, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles came out originally on 3DS, only in Japan. Got translated in 2021 finally, and got released in the West. So yeah, when I picked it up, I was like, this is one of the most amazing translations I played in any game, because they take the style of this historical era, which is Victorian London and Meiji era Japan, and they get all their mannerisms and all the like historical stuff there, and pretty accurate, I would say. So all the historical stuff is there, and they had to also make the characters think and feel like they're from back then without sounding too archaic. So the translations really are one of the best translations I've seen in a Japanese video game. So props to whoever translated this. But yeah, like, great work, because man, this game has everything. It has the history, it has the humor, it has the suspense, right? Like, I didn't play too many Ace Attorney games before, but certainly in this one, I was really invested in it. There really was like some mysteries and suspense in this game that made me really want to find out, you know, what happened. So a lot of intriguing stuff happens in this game. Like you gotta play 1 and 2 because they're both kind of connected to each other. But yeah, all the characters are very interesting, and yeah, the gameplay, like it's mostly like a visual novel for the most part. You do some investigation sometimes, but yeah, there's a bit more gameplay than most visual novels, but still at the same time it's mostly reading. Yeah. A lot of interesting characters, even though there isn't too big of a cast. I mean, like the jury is pretty much always the same characters, but still, I love the setting. I love the suspense and the intrigue in the plot, and yeah, the humor and the translations. Like it's a pretty funny game. Like a lot of times, like it's trying to be serious, but it's they put like just dabs of humor in a lot of places. And just fantastically translated game. So yeah, great Ace Attorney Chronicles has got to be on my list. Alright, number 3 is Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. I actually first played this on the Vita, the PlayStation Vita. But this is the PC version, which came out in 2016. Oh, I love this game so much. I really wish the sequel would come out. I'm not sure if the sequel will come out or not, because apparently there was issues with the dev team. But yeah, so what this game is basically it's a bartending game with basically a lot of reading, and that's why it's on my visual novel list. A lot of reading, but still, I mean, there's definitely more gameplay in this one compared to other visual novels because you actually mix drinks and stuff. But for the most part, it's reading, and I really like the setting of this game is a cyberpunk setting, and I love cyberpunk. But the characters in this game are also really interesting, and you get to hear their stories, and you get to dive more and more into what each character is like through just talking to them while you're serving them drinks. So that way, I really love this game because it's like they built this universe, this cyberpunk futuristic universe, and give them really interesting characters, and you get to learn more about the background of the game, the setting of the game, the different characters, what their motivations are like, and why they're there at the bar. Yeah, more gameplay than most visual novels. And yeah, the music soundtrack, the pixelated art style, I mean, I love all that. So it just ends up being one of my favorite games. Not just visual novels, just one of my favorite games.
Well, yeah, if she's a robot,
so, that's why it ends up ranking it so high. Cyberpunk Bartender Action Valhalla. So great game. Love playing it. Wish it was longer. Wish there was a sequel. Alright, so number 2 is going to be Steins Gate Zero. So Steins Gate is kind of this science fiction visual novel franchise now that's fairly famous, I would say, for a visual novel. They even have an anime adaptation. So they have a few spin-off games as well. The main games are Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero. I prefer Zero a little bit more. I think the original Steins Gate I loved as well. But Steins Gate Zero a little bit more just because it's a darker game. It's a darker game with more endings and more like consequences for your action. Like the first game was kind of like half of it was like this lighthearted bit, and then the other half was it suddenly twists and turns dark in the second half. Steins Gate Zero just starts off with being dark, and it just never becomes light. It's pretty much dark almost the entire way through.
He's a guy, and sounds like a girl.
You know, I know I said I didn't like Love Love Alternative because, well, it's not that I didn't like, but I preferred Photon Melodies because Alternative was like almost too dark. But Steins Gate Zero, I mean, I like the science fiction, all the science fiction stuff, like the time travel and using vintage computers and stuff. That's all really cool, really up my alley as a tech guy, right? I love science fiction themes and vintage electronics and stuff like that. This one delves more into AI as well, with the Amadeus and recreation of Marquis Chris. So yeah, like in this one, starts off with the protagonist, Otabe,
lover, basically.
Rintaro Otabe. He's not quite as annoying in this one, because in the first game he was actually kind of annoying because he was trying to be this other alter ego. But in this game he's not annoying because he just starts off depressed, right? Because he couldn't change the future very much, and ends up being like not what he wanted. So he starts off this game kind of depressed, and spends most of it depressed actually. And it's just a very emotional story. There's a lot of depth in each character. Really love the story of this game with like multiple endings and stuff. And yeah, overall I like it a little bit better than the original Steins Gate. I think Steins Gate Zero is probably my favorite Steins Gate game, and just one of my favorite visual novels because, yeah, you really feel for the main character in this game. You feel for him. It's very emotional. And yeah, it's just a very intriguing game to play. Not too much gameplay elements because of course it's mostly reading, but you do get to send like text messages and stuff like that. But yeah, I really love the story of this game. It's the story and characters, and I guess the watercolor type of graphic style is pretty unique to this series as well. So love this game. Okay, so my number one favorite visual novel that I played so far on my channel is You Know, A Girl Who Chants Love at the Bound in This World. I know that sounds like a very long title and maybe it's not a very well-known game, but this game is great. So I actually played this game so much I can do a speed run on it. I actually have a speed run on my channel of this game because I played it so much. It came out in 2019. I played this on the Switch originally, but yeah, like. It really surprised me because, like, okay, this game like has time travel elements in it, so I thought it was just like Steins Gate, but it's more than Steins Gate. It's like you got to collect these different jewels that your father left you in different places, and they're spread out across different timelines, and you have to use like different items you get from different playthroughs of the game, and yeah, throughout different timelines. You got to go down different branching paths of different timelines, collecting the jewels. Once you collect all the jewels together, it goes to an epilogue, and the epilogue is another like big portion of the game. So it's a really incredible game. There is more gameplay than Steins Gate. Like you get to choose where to go and stuff. So and you get to use the certain items in jewels at certain points. The characters are really interesting. There is a lot of twists in this game as well. From the characters, a lot of surprising twists, and just a lot of mystery and intrigue in this game. And I love science fiction, right? So this game is sci-fi. There's like time travel and everything. So overall, yeah, love this game. You know. I wish more people would know about it and play it. It's not as well known as Steins Gate. This was originally a game made for the NEC PC-98, I believe, back in the 90s. And then they got this is a remade version that finally got translated and released to the West. I know there's some perverted sections of this game because it was originally like an eroge, but aside from the perverted stuff, like it's just a great game. It's just solid. Like characters, story, gameplay, the art and everything. I love it. It's amazing game. I think everyone who loves visual novels and science fiction visual novels especially should give this game a chance. So, You Know, yeah, it's a great visual novel. I love playing through it. So, that's it guys. Let me know what you guys think of my top 10 visual novels ranking. And yeah, I know it's kind of a niche genre, but as a true otaku, or I guess you can call me a weeaboo sometimes, definitely it's fun to play visual novels. They're definitely quirky, very Japanese. I love playing through them though. So that's it guys, my top 10 visual novels. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.